Good evening, everyone. Hope you're good. Hope you're well. A little bit later than normal, but thought we'll go with it. See what happens. A little bit later, but it'll be fine. Hope you've had a good weekend. It's not been too bad, realistically. If we're thinking about content creation, I've not looked at the market completely this weekend. Realistically, I've had a bit of a weekend off, so this could be fun. So we'll see what happens. Realistically, it's been quite a flat week, apart from the obvious little dump. We've been up to a 40k range, we've came back to a 35, 36k range, we've kind of bouncing around. We're in a bit of a channel with Bitcoin, so that's kind of good. But I'll wait for everyone to jump on in, and then life will be decent, I suppose. Let me just play around with some settings as well while I'm here. Make sure things are correctly set up. I believe they are. Just making sure that the life of the content creation's good. But yeah, evening everyone. Hope all is well. So, let's just talk. Let's just do random stuff. So if you want to throw out some questions, feel free to do so. In terms of learning crypto, morning analysis will resume as per, but I thought let's just do a Zoom, well not Zoom, a live essentially. But what the plan is, just moving forward, just to let people know we're no longer going to be doing this Sunday slot. We're going to be basically looking at doing a week sort of situation. So weekday, probably a Wednesday or a Tuesday, depending on what day I kind of fancy realistically. Just to kind of do a little bit of a breakdown throughout the week and kind of like put food on the table in terms of what could happen throughout the week. Obviously, it depends on the overall market structure. It depends on everything. So I'm kind of thinking, well, Sunday evenings are a bit wishy-washy sometimes. It's a bit low on volume and it's not ideal to look. Whereas I think at like 2 p.m. UK time, when the US Open session's kind of kicking off and the volume starting to come into the market, I think like a Wednesday or a Tuesday would be pretty decent to kind of see if there's any sort of opportunities to look at, see if anything's happening in real time. And we'll probably get, a few more nationalities kicking around as well at that sort of time, which would be good. Hey ho! Hi everyone. Hi Dan. Hi two Dans. Two of you. Hi Sam. Hi Mark, hope you're well. Should we be putting your spare USDC from my stops into alts? Personally, I'm keeping quite a lot of USDC at the moment, just for now, because I want to protect myself a little bit, personally. Obviously, this is non-financial advice, but obviously, I'm in a much different position to an early investor, for example. If you're new to the industry, it's kind of like, you want to try and be in altcoins a little bit to learn, but if you've got profit and you're happy with profit, it's always good to keep a bag just in case. Realistically, if you're thinking, well, long term, if there's further drops, if there's further dumps and whatnot, and you're probably a bit upset that you've missed certain things, you can always jump in at whatever point, or if there's any opportunities that come up, so maybe a new coin or maybe a new listing or something that's kind of like presented itself an opportunity, you may want to use it instead of just like, because sometimes you get to this always happens. I don't know if it's just like if it feels like that or if it is like that, but you can bet your bottom dollar that as soon as you put money in the market, that you're going to have a death day. And what I describe a death day is like one of those double-digit shitty red days where it's like, oh, I should have waited. But yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of Celsius because it's not all kind of out there. You've got to look for it. And I know that sounds really like critical, but there is multiple different platforms out there where you can earn a yield through the DeFi platforms. But for me, I just went for transparency. That's all I went for, and that's why I landed on Swissborg and why I use obviously Compound and stuff, because you can see it on the chain. Whereas you can see certain things with Celsius, such as who's holding the bags and stuff, but you don't see like full transparency reports. Like one thing that's like made me choose Swissborg as I was trying it out was the transparency reports, where you can see physically where, essentially for me, where all the kind of the interest is coming from and how many times they use it and what percentages and stuff. It was kind of cool. And obviously I'm a brand, I'm talking on a company here. I'd rather be able to go, well, actually that's a good thing, that's a good pro. But at the end of the day, most of these companies get them from the same places. At the end of the day, they all use the DeFi platforms, and that was the one thing that made me realize, well, actually, for me, I'm only really interested in stable currency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. So Swissborg for me is perfect. But yeah, that's the only reason why. But if they are going to be bringing out a lot more proof and more transparency, that'd be good. It'll be good for the network. But I think every single company who's doing DeFi platforms should be able to prove exactly where they get their money from and how they do the borrowing rate, who they get it from, what sort of percentage of capital do they use on certain platforms, and what sort of liquidity they've got. Because realistically, that's information that should be readily available. And I think for transparency for the industry of DeFi especially, it should be used, for me anyways, personally. Hello Pinky, hope you're good, man. No more football though, which is a shame for another few days. But unless you're watching the England friendly, which is probably pretty poop. What other questions have we got so far? I'll do some market analysis in a minute, once it all warms up. It depends on what you want to use in terms of, your Plutus card and Swissborg, obviously very, very different, but you got to remember as well, with that, if you're using the same wallet, it's ERC20, which is really, really good. For me, it's just one of those things. It's like, the reason why I like Plutus card is because of that MetaMask, usage, where it's quite nice. It's really easy to kind of use. But for me, overall, it depends on what you want to use. I mean, if you have got a decentralized ERC20 wallet, perfect place to put it. Swissborg, DeFi and Swissborg are the same thing, mate. Literally, Swissborg are a wallet and an exchange provider, which essentially uses, DeFi protocols to create that yield. So they will put their, the contracts at work, the money that you put in, the yield, it gets used elsewhere, and then they pull the money back in terms of the borrowing rate, and they basically what they do is they get the best possible scenario. So if sometimes it's better than others, some days it's not. It goes off the market. There's no fixed rates, which is really, really good. Both Venus and Unfederal Reserve are decent, to be fair. The only reason why I don't actually hold any Venus is because, one, I've got too many projects, and two, for me, if you're looking at market cap, let's have a little look, because I'm not 100% sure what trending. Come Rocket, what are the chances, eh? Venus has got a much higher market cap, I believe. Yeah, it has. It's 309 million. But yeah, this was going on a monster run. I'm not sure what happened with but this is the thing, a lot of people are talking about on Federal Reserve taking a massive hit, but so is Venus, for example. A lot of DeFi platforms have been somewhat, I wouldn't say exploited, but they've definitely had it quite tough on the last few weeks, which isn't ideal, but you can see the very, very similar sort of price action here. There you go, you can see both of them have had a nice little run and a run and jump essentially. But you got to think as well, this market cap for a 20 cents of Unfederal Reserve, if you're looking for more risk reward sort of situation, you're going to probably pick this one. However, it depends on you realistically, because for me, they're both very, very similar in sort of, they've got a platform, you can, the usage of obviously the DeFi network in terms of what they're aiming to do, pretty decent. But for me, there is rumours going around that this is going to be using Paragon soon. So essentially the Matic network is layer 2, so it should be more efficient, more faster. That'd be pretty good. OneCoin, are you on about, I hope you're not on about the scam, but you're actually on about Harmony. I'm pretty sure you're probably going to be talking about Harmony, which realistically Harmony is pretty decent. It's very, very similar to Zilliqa. It's a sharding network. It's an enterprise platform as well. It's good. But for me, I'd rather just go with Zilliqa. That's my personal preference. It's nothing against this. It's a very, very good, powerful blockchain. I'm a very much, it sounds really geeky, but I do like the technology side of it as well. I do like what some platforms are building and what they can build upon. However, you got to think as well, you can't have everything. If you've got a portfolio full of all the sharding capability coins, it's kind of a problem. So that's why I've got only Zilliqa. That's why that's obviously an enterprise platform. Obviously, I've got Polkadot for multi-chain. I've got Plutus for the payment mechanism, the cards. All these kind of reserve. Obviously on Federal Reserve, DeFi platforms. So I don't, with crypto, because it's so volatile as well, and it's another thing about portfolio building. It's volatile. You want to be pretty proactive and never mind reactive in some cases, because if you've got like 25 coins and you're thinking, oh my god, it's been a horrible day, I should have took profit, and you're flapping at it, it's going to take you ages to kind of get to a position where you can move them onto exchanges if they're in hard wallets. It's going to be hard work that. So I'd rather have a lot of coins at good prices, but less of them in, the amount of quantity of coins, if that makes sense. So not like 25 million coins versus obviously, holding about 5 or 6. How the ZIL bridge will work, what I understand is it's going to be a network that will be a capable solution of basically being able to trade ERC20 tokens using the Zilliqa framework and their blockchain, their network, their ecosystem, right? So let's just say, for example, here, what's a solid Ethereum-led coin? Let's think. Aave. Aave is a good example here. Or DAI, for example. If you wanted to do it, like, say, sell Aave or do a transfer of Aave, for example, into another ERC20 token, you could basically use the capabilities of the Zilliqa framework to do it for a much cheaper price. Now, the only issue that it is now, you got to look at the gas prices of Ethereum is now a lot lower. Yes, you're still paying a little bit of a premium versus Zilliqa, because Zilliqa's prices are really low for a normal transfer. They're like, you don't even notice the price of it. It's like literally maybe 5-6 cents sometimes, because it's like 0.5 of a ZIL, which is quite nice. And obviously it's the same sort of situation. If you're looking to do it effectively, the sharding capability allows high volume. So if there's, say, a massive boost of the ecosystem getting used and stuff like that, there's no issues. Whereas we know what happens with Ethereum, things get stuck, and it gets stuck for a while, and it hurts, and you're then pressing your cancel button, you're paying money to cancel things. It's like, oh my god, it's a nightmare. So hopefully it will increase the token flow away, obviously, into Zilliqa, so increased token flow, which will increase burning mechanisms and all that kind of scarcity, whereas you've obviously got a lot less weight potentially going off the Zilliqa, off the Ethereum blockchain, if there is a high, sort of situation, whereas it's kind of similar to what happened with Binance Coin with the BSC network. However, the BSC network has kind of like shown its true colors recently in terms of the price of that, because that's got quite expensive too. But yeah, basically, Bridge is a way of being able to use another platform. It's very, very simple. So once it's out, it'll probably be very, very clear in terms of how it's used, and that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, RSR, Mark just mentioned it there, absolute bargain bucket. It's bargain bucket, bargain basement even. It is. I personally, anyway, it's not financial advice, but I think if people are looking for a good story and a good use case, I think reserve rights is probably one that's kind of up there in terms of a real life use case. Not like a lot of things talk about, obviously, capabilities of a good blockchain and stuff like that, which is fair enough, but you got to remember, blockchain is only a buzzword. This is why I like Polkadot, because it is literally the utility of an ecosystem to make blockchains, which is kind of cool. I like that. Whereas obviously Ethereum is already kind of built within, so people are going to latch onto it. Zilliqa again is another one where people can latch onto it in terms of enterprise and stuff like that, which has got sharding capability. But you got to think realistically, like a lot of coins out there, they don't have that kind of big element to it, whereas those projects are like, the big massive hay bales, the big ecosystem where people can latch onto them and build their own projects on them. So when you start thinking about reserve rights, it's probably going to be using the Ethereum blockchain when their mainnet is live, and then they're probably going to utilize other side chains for scaling, such as Polygon, for example, just to give you a bit of a food for thought there. Whereas, realistically, are they going to build their own chain? Probably not. Are they going to specialize and focus on the app and to be able to get people's lives changed? Probably yes. So they're just going to bolt onto another, a well-established blockchain, whether that is Ethereum, whether that is another blockchain potentially. But for me, it's probably looking more likely to be Ethereum because it's kind of already on there. But they still need to do a mainnet. So maybe some good value coming from the world of Ethereum. From reserve rights, but obviously token flow into Ethereum, which is pretty cool, to be fair. But yeah, let's do some analysis. Why not? Let's talk about Bitcoin for a minute. As I said at the start of this, we're kind of in a boring range. Like, this is the daily time frame, and it looks pretty dull. When we start talking about, let's just go from these body candles, or actually, no, we'll go from that Wicks play tricks. So we're essentially in this sort of choppy sort of channel, which isn't too bad, but it's like 34,530, 39, 38, whatever. But realistically, we've had a lot of like situations where we've kind of popped in and out of it on the 1 hour and back into it pretty quickly, as you can kind of see here. So we've had a few little fake outs back in, little pops, but it's nothing. This is where it's kind of like, meh, you know, it's rubbish price action. We're waiting to see what happens, and we are kind of in no man's land. And I mentioned this a few times. I mentioned it yesterday on the Telegram group. We're in no man's land. We really are, because we're kind of in the middle of like a big level of support and a huge level of resistance that we need to break through. So realistically, yeah, we've had a bit of a reddish weekend. We've had obviously 2 red days, and this is why the title's kind of important. So we've obviously had more FUD. We've had a little bit of Elon tweeting nonsense again. We've had a little bit of China FUD come out. Today's been all right, and this is why, like, it's really good. If you're new to this space, and I know like new people are brilliant at this, and I love it. It's funny. Everyone can relate to this if you're new. You always check your portfolio about 55 times a day, right? You always look, you're like, oh, what am I doing today? Refresh. What am I doing now? Refresh. You know, every time you take a sip of your brew or whatever, you're always checking. The novelty soon wears off as you get more into the space. And even when you're like getting in the space longer, you'll start taking little days off. And these little days off are really, really good for like just basic understanding of what's happening in terms of market momentum. If you're a long-term investor, if you're looking at the chart every single day, you're probably going to miss potential profit zones because you're kind of in the motions of it. Whereas if you just take a step back of it and look and clear your analysis off and look at a fresh mindset and look at other elements of news, look at other elements of the chart or other time frames, you'll start seeing things more clear. Therefore, it's a good learning experience and understanding. But what we are in right now, and it does my head in when I start seeing like other like influencers and traders and YouTubers like on like the 5-minute time frame putting bloody triangles on shit, going, oh, look at this, is going to do that, this, that, and the other. It means cock all, because literally if you're scalping, fair enough, go for it, but don't be putting it on Twitter just for a bit of content, because realistically, you just look a bit stupid, because if you just zoom out, you're like, well, we're in a range. It's like, well, if you try and do that on the higher time frames, you're just not going to go anywhere very, very fast. It's going to do something. It's going to break up or break down. Personally, I think we're going to break up more than go down. I think the sentiment's kind of more bullish than bearish because of where we are in a position. If we were up here and it was kind of consolidating, I'd probably be more worried of a downward move. Whereas we've had this kind of mini sort of situation where we've had multiple run-ups and tops and pullbacks, and obviously we've failed. So therefore, that's why we're down in this kind of pit zone. But in my opinion, it's an accumulation zone, which is why I'm kind of a bit more bullish. Usually, if we're going to continue falling down, yeah, there's no, you know, for me, I think on the cards, we are probably going to start retesting this bottom line, this 34,000 again, which we have done multiple times. But it wouldn't shock me in the slightest if we do get a quick tap of this level. You know, not this level, sorry, this level, 30k. If just, maybe, that's kind of like the worst case scenario at the moment. Well, obviously, we've got to cross each bridge as we come. But realistically, like, too many people go very, very bearish very, very quickly. Like, I'm cautious. The reason why I'm cautious is because we're below this level. If we get above this level, above the EMA and stuff like that, and we start getting above a key level of, like, resistance, essentially, I'll be like, yeah, cool, okay, it's good for recovery. But realistically, we're in no man's land. We can't just decide, and you can't just flick a switch and go, well, we are this, that, and the other. For me, I'd rather be on the fence right now, especially with Bitcoin. However, that being said, if you start looking at the likes of the altcoins, a lot of altcoins actually look a lot healthier. If you look at the longer term time frames, this is kind of a setup that I did on one of my own personal YouTube videos. And if you've not yet checked out my channel, please make sure you do. Crypto Mobster, if you don't know. Realistically, this is kind of like what a lot of altcoins that are quite healthy and have had good bounces look like. And they look all right in terms of the market sentiment. And this is where I'm kind of a bit more conflicted in terms of what's going to happen next, because we could look at the Bitcoin dominance chart and it could still carry on melting. And I've been talking about this for a while, that we could, worst case scenario, or it could be a good case scenario for some people, if you're looking at Bitcoin could go on an absolute rump right now and romp it right up to the top and go mental. Because it's had a correction, it could then retest highs, it could slaughter altcoins in terms of Satoshi values and go back up and maybe retest 52% or maybe retest 60%. And then it may well come back down again and form the continuation of the downtrend in terms of obviously a lower high and form then a lower low down to 30%. That is like, in my opinion, the dream scenario that I would love to see. I would love Bitcoin to just take off like a rocket and absolutely catch everyone off guard, catch all the short sellers, catch all the bears. Because realistically, we've got to look at scarcity. We've got to look at the industry. We've got to look at the fact that we went to 65k. We've now pulled back to 35k. We're now accumulation. We don't know what's happening realistically in terms of the bulls kind of like accumulation. There has been some big wallets moving, and they have been increasing the amount that they've got, which is absolutely mental. So you're seeing these cabbage hands getting rolled over into these strong shovel hands, which is what I tweeted about yesterday. And realistically, that could happen, but it may not as well in terms of like the strength. Because the reason why I say it may not happen is because a lot of people, a lot of new guys and a lot of new women and stuff in this space, and they've got tunnel vision because they believe that the likes of Dogecoin is going to go to $1. They believe that Safe Moon's going to hit the world and it's going to change and become a global currency, because a lot of people are interested in altcoins right now. So it may not happen like that in terms of dominance. However, if Bitcoin does go up, USD prices are going to go up with it. But I think maybe if the sentiment is good in altcoins, we may not get that crushing blow of Satoshi values vanishing. I'm hoping there's two scenarios there which do make some sort of sense, but realistically, we've got to be careful. So as I say, a lot of altcoins look good. Look, Dogecoin actually is looking quite good. Now, I shorted this, made a little bit of money on this. Wasn't the most maximum I could have got out of it. Probably, I did close it before my stop loss hit because I was like, okay, whatever. It's below that. I'm quite happy with that as a gain. The only reason why is because I think shorting or even longing Doge is extremely risky because it's so volatile. It's ridiculous. But when you look at the overall catalyst here, we've kind of found the level of support around the 618 and just below this 382. So we may well find a nice little chunk of, upward momentum. Now, realistically, if this does hold, we're probably going to form a new high, which is absolutely scary when you think about it. But that could also just be realistically the market coming back and as bullish, and because support's held for so long, people are going to start coming about. For me personally, my YouTube's been battered. My Twitter engagement's a lot lower than it was because I think a lot of people have been scared out of the market. A lot of people took a little bit of time off because they got wrecked, realistically. Because, if you're buying Dogecoin up here, and it feels great for a few days when it keeps going up, but when it does like a big, massive whoopsie like that, and you look at your portfolio at one point in your nighttime, and you're thinking, you go for that like midnight piss, and you see your portfolio being absolutely, literally drained. It's like, where's all that money gone? Hold on, it was here. Is this a glitch? You see your overall portfolio down for the week for like, 40, 50%, whatever it may be, whether it's an altcoin or whatever. It scares people, and it does, and that's why we've got to be careful. But realistically, for me, Dogecoin actually looks, why do I have to say this? But it actually looks okay. I was expecting this to just melt, but it's found a level of support. It's kind of done a little bit of a reversal. It's had an impulse. It's pulled back. It's actually not. It's holding. So this is why I'm thinking altcoins may actually be okay. When you think about in terms of if Bitcoin does go on a pump. But this is the USD prices. If you look at the BTC side, it's still quite strong. So you got to look at both sides of the coin here. And the BTC side of Dogecoin looks healthier, which is like, what is happening? So that's why I'm always thinking, well, altcoins look quite good because people want them. People look at Bitcoin and go, oh, that's expensive. People look at Ethereum and go, oh, that's expensive. Look at Cardano and go, oh, that's really cheap. But then they realize like three months later, oh, I bought a very overpriced Cardano. Actually, you know what? I'll hold it. It might do well. But then they'll start looking at other coins and they'll realize, oh my God. I can buy all these coins and make loads of money. And then before they know it, they got 100 coins, which is hilarious. Anyways, questions. Is it okay to buy BTC now? That's a good question, actually, because realistically, the rule of thumb is always buy at supports, right? No matter what asset you buy, if you've found and discovered and it is a level of support, it's always safer. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to stay there. It doesn't mean that it's going to continue going up from that point because it may fail, it may break. However, if you're looking at probability, which is what this whole trading and investment game is, it's all probability. It's all based off kind of all these variables that may well factor in or not. But realistically, if you're like just using that rule of thumb where I will only buy at a certain level, I will never buy at resistance, I will never buy on a green day, I'll always buy on a red day or whatever like that, you may find that you'd probably be more successful than not. So for me personally, I would wait and see what happens in terms of this range, because realistically, the worst possible scenario that you're going to have is if it pops to the upside, just wait for it to come back down. Because if this 42, 41k holds a support and then it continues going up, you're probably going to be profitable. However, what you don't want to do is kind of shit yourself here in the mid-range, because it is in middle. It is support, but it's kind of mid-range. You want to kind of just make sure it's because realistically, you don't want to buy when it's in a range, like, because it could like be quite violent. It'll kind of go up or down. You're basically gambling. You want to always try and buy with a key level of direction. If you've got a direction, you're okay. So realistically, for you, best case scenario, see what happens at 30k if you're looking for the best possible opportunity. If not, wait for the safest option and wait for it to break up to the upside, smash through here. This then becomes support, and then it kind of resets and goes higher. Then you can start taking profit, remove some position off the table, protect your assets and your ass, and then you'll be all right. But realistically, like, anyone will tell you, if you start buying, especially Bitcoin that's already risen quite a lot in the year now, if you're looking back in time and you're thinking, well, you know what, you could have bought ages ago, and yes, anyone could make that argument, but realistically, you know, you're buying a very, very inflated asset in terms of, not so much inflated in terms of like, you know, realistically, is it undervalued? Yes, it is, versus $65,000. But realistically, you know, you're always going to get opportunities in the market where things will go flat and horrible in a bear market, where you can always buy any. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's an altcoin, whatever, you will find maybe in 2 years' time that whatever you buy now, you may get in the future cheaper, based off the world of obviously a bear market. Because you may look at BNB. This could be a great example, right? Let's just say that this goes up to $1,000 in the bull run, right? Let's just say, theoretical speaking, not financial advice, but let's just say if it does. You've obviously going to make some money there if you buy now. Realistically, yes, if you take profit. However, you may find that in 2 years' time, we may be entering yet another bear market thinking, oh, this is rubbish. And then you probably look and think, well, Binance Coin's now $200. I remember when that was $1,000, you know, that was crazy. And it doesn't take much to look back in time at the likes of Ethereum. When you think about Ethereum being $1,400 and then it went all the way down to 82, which it could have, if it failed one more support level, it could have easily went into $50 or $40, which would have been crazy. And you always think, wow, that was $1,400. Now what is it? Yeah, exactly. It's like $2,400 or $2,700, I think. Oh yeah, it's $2,689. So you got to think like long term as much as you can. But this is the thing, like, look at that, boom, wow. And then obviously where it went down to, I think it was about $82, yeah, give or take. That's crazy. So always remember to take profits, but always buy at supports. So you always buy supports, you always look at taking money off the table at resistance levels that are quite strong or tough or whatever. But this is the thing, it's a fine balance, and a lot of people kind of presume taking profits is selling the whole thing, even if you're just selling 5%. I sold 5% of my Zilliqa position not too long ago. Very happy I did, to be fair, because it was one of those ones where I could have easily lost money if I just sat in it. But realistically, it's given me ammunition at the end of the day. Quite good. In terms of chart analysis, this was looking great, right? I will explain. So we had this nice little. Let's have a little look at it. Hold on. Let's remove the long-standing. There we go. Hello, zoomies. So we're still below the EMA 21 on Ethereum. So we've got this impulse, we pulled all the way up, and I was getting really excited about Ethereum. It's like, oh, this is looking quite good. It's looking quite healthy, you know. And then it's kind of went into a range. It's like the last 5 days, it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 6 days. It's been pretty shocking. It's been pretty boring. So what you need for a healthy Ethereum right now is to blast through this level, this 3K kind of zone, this kind of like level of resistance, to continue, form a new high, then it can form a higher low and continue its merry way up. However, it's not going to happen, I don't think, just yet. The reason why I say that is because of this, right? So when we start looking at this, you've got two examples of this is why it's probably not going to happen in USD. One, Bitcoin's going the other way, it's going down slightly, and this is continually going up. So we have got it on the BTC pair, but we haven't got it parabolic yet. We're just kind of floating up gradually. There's little moves, little baby steps here. So if we're looking at like little 2% days here, but the problem is you've got Bitcoin going down 2% every time in USD. So therefore, it's making life interesting. But realistically, it's looking good. So we've had a nice recovery. We're above the 618 now in terms of this is a high, this is a low. We've pulled up to 382, became a level of support actually. And actually, what does this look like on the other way around? Let's have a look. Probably is a 618, isn't it? Yeah, no, very, very similar to it. Roughly just below the 50% level. So it's looking pretty good, looking pretty healthy. However, we just got to be careful with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes on a run, everyone's going to jump onto Ethereum and this will probably go up higher, which would be nice. However, realistically, it looks like on the BTC pair, it could go higher, but you got to remember big levels of corrections came here. So got to break through this 82,670 Satoshi range, which is huge. But we'll see if it does it. If it breaks that, I would be pretty confident that Ethereum's going to bring up the entire altcoin market and we may get a nice little summer alt season, which would be very, very exciting, personally. But yeah, that was a really long answer to a question, wasn't it? Sorry. Do you rate Pax Gold? Is that yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan. It's all right, I suppose. If you follow gold and you understand what you're getting into, at fair on, crack on. But it's not renownedly used, realistically. In terms of if you're looking at volume and stuff like that, yeah, you can use it, you can get it, you can obtain it, and you can actually get paid off it. Realistically, I think it's on, is it BlockFi? I believe you can get paid on it. But yeah, for me, fundamental wise, if you understand gold and the gold market and you're interested in kind of following that gold price, go for it, crack on. But it's kind of interesting how it works. Obviously Paco's is quite renowned for being quite good with audits and stuff like that, and like its capabilities of what it is, and the way it's kind of done. But for me personally, I probably wouldn't use it because I'm not really interested in gold. But if you are into it and you want to hold something, I'd go for it, crack on, why not? But yeah. It is backed by BlockFi. So you can actually, if you've got some stable currency and you want to earn some Paco's gold, crack on. Michael, yeah, I already think that it has been affected a little bit, but this has happened. I've seen this before on launches. I've seen hype. I've seen people getting on board something when realistically they don't fully understand how DeFi works. Now, I obviously spoke about the potential of 1,000% plus, and it was actually a reality for like less than however many hours. But the problem was, and kind of how it all kind of came about, was obviously the stable currency in terms of people were selling on Federal Reserve off, sell the rumor, buy the rumor, sell the news. So they were selling the news. Therefore, they were then putting that stable asset and that profit into obviously the platform, to then get a much higher yield. And that yield at the time was about 400%, 500. Then it gradually went down into like 200, 100, whatever. It's still really high. And then obviously they made the changes. But the thing is, I seen the change happen and I should have took profits. I didn't take any profits. I obviously was quite happy anyways, realistically, because I do think long term it's going to do okay. However, the one thing that made me kind of realize certain things was the Telegram. The Telegram went from a nice, clean, kind, nice environment. Then all of a sudden, as the price got more and more, it all got more aggressive. It all got more interesting on social media, and a lot of people were getting really kind of into it. And then obviously that changed. The attitude changed of people asking stupid questions, not understanding what they were doing. However, these clueless people that do get involved in stuff will usually sell because they've lost money, and they will eventually get out. I've seen it with so many coins. Like Zilliqa is a great example. It launched, it took off like an absolute rocket. It went up to like 23 cents in a bear market, and then it obviously dropped all the way back down to like literally point whatever a cent. Crazy numbers, right? You've seen the likes of Cardano, great example. Came out in the bull market, went all the way to like $1.40 or whatever. Then it went all the way back down to like pretty much like what, a cent and a half or 2 cents. You know, it happens. It happens a lot. But they do, a good, solid, strong project will bounce back because they've got a good team, they've got a working product, and all those kind of elements will kind of bed in for the long term, and the good hands will come back. And then it'll just rise. And you're going to see the exact same thing if we have another pump. And I spoke about this on my other live not too long ago on Friday, looking at a load of coins. And Luna's a great example, right? Luna's like a fantastic example of this. Now, this was $22. and now it's like 6. You got to think, well, what has happened here? How many new people would have been buying up here? How many new people would have been excited about buying this dip, buying all this? Loads of people. KSI was absolutely bragging his tits off on his Twitter account about buying like a $16 Luna. He couldn't believe his luck because he wanted to buy it $22. Now look at it, it's down here. How many strong hands will be buying it? Well, we don't know, realistically, but you're always going to have inexperienced people that don't understand what they're buying, and they're only buying due to a green candle. Oh, my mate's made money, I'll just buy that. Investing is a really hard game. It is, it's a game of the mind, it's a game of research, it's a game of patience as well, more than anything. And for me, on Federal Reserve, it's a $60 billion, I wish. It's a $60 million market cap, fully diluted, which has a very, very highly competitive kind of situation where it's going to, in my opinion, not financial advice, of course, it's going to be the similar sort of framework as Compound, which is currently, what market cap is Compound? Let's have a little look. It might help if I know this information. Where's Compound? Oh, there it is. It's a $2 billion market cap, okay, which is scary. And it's already a fork of that. It's very, very similar. But it's going to be actually targeting much bigger, liquidity, much bigger flow of money. So that's important. So if you're thinking fundamentals alone, that's already kind of like, wow, if they obtain that, that's really, really good. So for me, am I worried? No. They've got a working platform. Brilliant. It works. Yeah. Yeah, there were some issues, don't get me wrong. Yeah, there's some issues in terms of team communications and stuff like that. But realistically, most of it's problems from Telegram because people just, chat shit and they don't quite understand what's happening. Secret mission. Not very secret. I sold all my HODL coins when Bitcoin went down to 41k. When should I buy back? It's up to you. It's your call. It depends how long term you're thinking. It depends on what you want to buy. It depends on what opportunities, because you got to think as well. Don't just think of the overall market. Think of opportunities. If you've if you feel that you can get more coins for your money, buying back in on a certain coin that you sold, crack on, go for it. There's nothing wrong. Let's just say Luna is a great example. Let's just say, for example, right, you bought Luna down here at $6, right? Theoretical feeling, and you took a bit of profit on this $14 dip and you absolutely shat yourself, and you've seen it go back up, and then it obviously tanked. Realistically, you can buy back in. You can be like, right, cool, happy days, I've gained more. But for me, you've got to wait for a clear direction, what's happening. The safest way of entering a market is in an uptrend. If you find a big level of support or a resistance that's been broken, it then finds support, then you enter. It's much safer. Whereas, realistically, a lot of altcoins are starting to establish trends, apart from Reef, because look at that, it's just sideways. You're starting to see a lot of coins. Now, this is like a big buy zone for reserve rights, but we're trying to establish something here. A lot of coins look like this at the moment. They're trying to establish something where they actually are forming a higher low, throughout, which is good. However, they've not formed those new highs, those big parabolic spikes up yet. So you've got to be careful. But again, this is USD again. Obviously, Bitcoin's kind of losing a bit of ground. But realistically, if you're going to buy anything, use your capital wisely, but only buy at supports. GZIL, sold it. Absolutely got rid of it because I don't really... For me, GZIL, I don't have any sort of interest in it. Even if it does well in the future, I just don't care. I converted most of mine into Zilliqa. So when the Zilliqa price versus, obviously, on ZilSwap, you can see if you get more Zilliqa versus whatever, currency. I just sold it into Zilliqa and I put it into stake. Simple as that. It's double bubble, it's money, it's free money, it's happy days. But realistically, it's always one of those things where, yeah, GZIL does have a use case, a utility, but will I use it? No. So will I sell it when I get it? Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. Simple as that. For me, when you look at where Zilliqa was in terms of price, obviously it was a lot higher here, and so was this. So it goes very much off the Zilliqa price. So realistically, I think if you actually, if you got like a couple laying around, it's not too bad. I had about 30 at one point. I've sold pretty much all of it now. I still get it though. It's pretty cool. It's not bad as a freebie. Pluton price prediction. That's a good answer. Good question. Good question. So if people don't know this is like a payment card that's set up in the UK. In my opinion, it's one of the best out there. If we're talking about security, it is by far the best. Why? Because you can hook up your MetaMask to it. You've got your own keys. So one of the biggest problems with centralized platforms that offer, the world of like currency cards and stuff, if you have a problem or you lose your phone or you lose your ID or something stupid, right? You could get locked out, and that does happen. I've seen people locked out of Crypto.com before. I've seen people locked out of Binance and Coinbase and stuff like that. It's a nightmare. Quite often our emails are like, people are like, help, how do I get in? Because realistically something's changed in terms of their device or something stupid or, a stupid error. Whereas what these have, you can connect your MetaMask, and if you've got 3 or 4 Ethereum in your MetaMask and you're thinking, well, you know what, I can convert that into pounds over a period of time, use it, get rewards, whatever, happy days. You don't lose your funds, which is good if you lose your card or if someone, realistically, if something goes wrong. So it's pretty decentralized in that way. In terms of price prediction, if they get a banking license, it'll go off like a rocket. It'll fly. So they're looking to introduce their own wallet. They're looking to introduce Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to go onto the platform because it is only Ethereum based at the moment, so that's going to increase the capabilities massively. But for me, it's got a really solid, perfect use case. Payment cards. It's a really nice, clean ecosystem. It's a really nice platform. You get 3% rewards. I do like it a lot personally, but I do hold it. I do have a card. Happy to talk about it because I do like it, but realistically, the reason why I hold it and buy it and have it is, why not? If I've got the card, have a bit of the token. Realistically, this could go up to, if this does a Swiss bug, for example, and it goes up to like $800 million market cap, you will be pretty happy, realistically. For me, anyways. Yeah, Voyager was a cool one. The reason why I no longer use I've never have used Voyager because I'm in the UK, but I basically saw comparisons of Voyager with the likes of Swissborg and Binance. The one thing that made Voyager take off like a rocket was because of, obviously, Wall Street bets. People wanted to buy shit coins. The place where people could buy shit coins, not on Binance, because Binance was clogged with new people, was actually Voyager. So what actually happened was, when that all took off, people were doing KYC and all kinds of verification processes on Binance, Coinbase, all these bigger platforms. And then obviously Voyager was like, guys, we've got no queue. Come to this new club. We've got good music. There's no queue. You can get your drink straight away. That's what kind of happened, and it took off like a rocket. So I was happy that happened because I held it for a long, long time. So yeah, that's pretty good. But yeah, I see similar sort of comparisons between Pluton, like the likes of Swissborg, the likes of Voyager, in terms of like capabilities of a DEX and a platform where you can actually put money in, be pretty secure about it, but also have a good solid utility in terms of a payment card, whereas they don't have that realistically. It's pretty good. Hi Dan. I've never actually looked at Rune before. Heard a lot about it. The only thing that, like, that's the thing, like, again, like anything, I like this. I like that this has got the audited now on the world of CoinMarketCap, which does help a little bit, but, realistically, a lot of blockchains should not have issues with auditing if they are basically other ones. Obviously, this is Cosmos. It does have contracts with Binance Chain, which is pretty good. Realistically, though, if you're a native coin on a bigger ecosystem, so say, for example, Zilliqa or Polkadot or whatever, right? If, everyone should pass an audit if they're using the frameworks. So for me, an audit's an audit. This is why it baffles my brain when people talk about the likes of SafeMoon. Oh, it's been audited, it's safe. Well, obviously it's safe. It's a copy and paste code from the ERC20 network. It's going to be fine. Freaking But yeah, I don't know much about it at all. I do like the colours of it because obviously it's a lot of big stuff, isn't it? Obviously very, very similar sort of colours to Zilliqa, so it looks pretty good. But yeah, I know nothing about this other than the fact of what it is on the screen. Woohoo! But realistically, use case, use case is good, because the use case for this sort of thing, decentralization, liquidity protocols, and when you start thinking liquidity, you're thinking borrowing, lending, you're thinking decentralization, DeFi, you're thinking protocol, which is safety, all kinds of stuff like that in terms of buzzwords work. And like anything, like any investment in crypto, if it has a utility, you should be looking at it. Utility is key. So, for example, Rune, it has a use case. Is there people for the use case? Well, yes, there is. There's going to be multiple people for that. Same as Pluton. Very, very early adopters, but how many millions of people could use a payment card that is decentralized? Could be a lot. Look at Binance. How many people use their platform? Utility is key. This is where it gets interesting. If you start looking at ecosystems the likes of Polkadot, more projects, more builders, more developers, more, whatever, right? The more that go on Polkadot, the bigger it's going to grow. And that's like anything, whether it's a stock, whether it's a product, whether it's a business, whether it's anything in life. It's the same for crypto. But this is why the likes of Dogecoin is doing well. It's not because of the utility, it's because of people buying it out of stupid freaking meh. People tweeting, TikTok. Money moves markets. Rev, what is Rev? Is this going to be a rubbish coin? Because if it's going to be rubbish, I'm going to cry. Is it rubbish? I don't know. Well, oh, really? Oh, I remember Rev. Yeah, this is a game that you play. I remember covering this a little bit on I covered this on a video. The only reason why I covered it on a video was because of the Formula 1 partnership, and I thought that's pretty awesome. So again, this is a similar sort of thing. If we're talking about use cases, two different types of use cases. There's a use case in terms of how many people will make a market move, and then you've got obviously stuff like this. Whereas you will get people that will buy, play, and use in terms of the token for obviously hobby, pleasure, fun, activity, playing with your kids, whatever, all kinds of random stuff like that, right? Like Engine, like the Engine platform, the blockchain of Engine. Now, when you start talking about Engine, you got multiple different types of elements to it. So you got gaming, you got NFTs. Some of them are rubbish, but they also, for some people, they'll be amazing because it's what they're interested in. Now, would I invest in Rev? Probably not. Why? Because it doesn't change the world. However, would I play Rev and collect or not so much play it, but play the games within it to collect Rev to then earn passive income? Yes, I would. Why not? Because if you can collect some good collectibles, go for it. But would I invest hard-earned money into it? Well, no, because it's not a life-changing element. For me, it's not a life-changing situation. Yeah, it's had a nice little price rise, but it's like library tokens, right? If we're talking about, would I invest in library credits? No. Why not, Ash? Because I don't see why I'd want to invest in something like this. Now, what this is, by the way, just to let you know, this is like YouTube. So it's a decentralized platform. Whenever I do a YouTube video, whether it's on this channel or the other channel, whatever, realistically, it goes onto another platform. In terms of view time, I'll get a little few credits here and there, little point whatever of how many views I get. But yeah, this is another thing. Would I invest in it? No, because it's not got the same amount of distribution volume as the likes of YouTube or whatever. It's not got the big capabilities, but it's given me a little bit of income. But for me, if you're into motorsport, if you're into the likes of MotoGP, Formula 1, all kinds of stuff like that, there's no harm in actually just cracking on and just, I can play this game, I can have a bit of fun with it, why not? Because obviously NFTs can be worth quite a bit, but solid use case, yeah. Solid partnerships, yeah. Will it change the world? No. I'm afraid no. It's just one of those things. This is why this is a good thing about the world of cryptocurrency, Realistically, you've got all these kind of projects that are great, but you've also got things that are really down in the pits that people don't know about, but they're really, really solid. But they've got a small base of user bases that can actually earn off it, use it or whatever. It's just one of those things. It's crazy. It's cool. Yeah, F1 is getting really proactive. So is football, though. Football has, over the last 2 years, has been getting better. Obviously, there's been a few clubs with some good little sponsorships with crypto, but F1 this year has been really good. They've got actual drivers with, individual coins. You've obviously got Tezos and stuff like that with Red Bull. You've got Phantom with AlphaTauri. You've got Crypto.com with Aston Martin. Pretty big, realistically. You've obviously got one of the Turkish Bitcoin exchanges on the McLaren car. So it's a massive step forward. Certainly, when you think distribution and eyeballs, F1's pretty good. Thinking football, massive as well. But you got to think the game as well. The game, how many million of people will play the game? And you'll see all these sponsorships on the drivers. You'll see them because it's all real time. It's pretty awesome. That's what I love about it. NFTs on Binance. I'm not quite sure what's happening realistically in terms of NFTs on Binance. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of NFTs. I think they're a bit wishy-washy. I think NFT in terms of like its use case of like a non-fungible token is pretty cool because it is basically ownership. But I think over the last coming months, people have took the piss a little bit and created NFTs out of no reason to try and obviously create some sort of profit. And you've seen some of them going up to stupid levels. But realistically, how much, obviously you've got NFT, F1 Delta Time, you've obviously got Sandbox. But when we start talking about marketplaces of people using, selling, buying, whatever, some of them are shit. And we all got to be honest there. They're freaking awful. And like they're just absolute opportunists. Whereas for me, when I look at him, an NFT for me, just ownership. It's like, if you can do something, it's good, because if you can prove ownership of something via a token, that's cool, that's awesome. But a JPEG of like someone just putting something shitty on a screen and I'll sell that for like 3 Ethereum because it's from me, whatever, go away, no one cares. These are quite good. If you've never used Unstoppable Domains, if you're into websites and stuff, definitely check them out. They're pretty awesome. That's built on the Zilliqa platform. But yeah, you got all these, like, yeah, cool, crack on. Like, but as I said before in like the F1 stuff, they're very, very niche. Like, you can have someone who absolutely loves playing a game or a certain puzzle or something stupid and earn something, right? Earn something little, whether it's a little sausage on a screen or whatever, a little cute doll or a little kitten. And it may be worth absolutely nothing to that person, but it's a reward. And at the end of the day, what's giving them more enjoyment? Getting the reward or playing the game? Well, realistically, a bit of both. But are they going to be like holding these for like the best course of their life? No. Will they probably sell them or trade them potentially for in-game rewards? Yeah, go for it. But that's the thing, NFTs have got so many different sort of variables, but the one thing that it's known for is people creating art and doing rubbish stuff with it, whereas realistically an NFT is ownership and kind of like an add-on to brands and franchises and good stuff like that. For me anyways, that's how I look at it. If I can prove ownership of something that I've earned, or if I prove ownership that I've got something, that's cool. Would I create something to sell it? No. Why would I? But hey ho, that's my opinion on NFTs. I think they're really, really good for the long term. I just think people have kind of buggered it a little bit. It's for me. Anyways, that's nearly an hour. Yeah. Probably going to leave it now, guys. Just under an hour. I don't want to talk too much. But as I said at the start of this video, they will be, not next Sunday, but the following Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not sure which one yet. We'll decide officially. We're looking to do a midweek stream where it'll be a lot more based on analysis in terms of what's happening in the market from a week sort of standpoint in terms of trend bias, news, what's happening, but also live action. It's a Sunday evening, not many people on the charts. It's not really doing anything today anyways. But realistically, if we can get like an opening of the US session, that'd be pretty cool. Be able to talk about certain things what could have happened in the news and stuff like that. But fundamental wise, Sunday evenings are a bit naff. For volume and stuff like that, and obviously news. There's no real news published on a weekend realistically. You obviously load up the footprinter for tomorrow because we've had a pretty lullish day, so realistically expect some FUD tomorrow because that's kind of what Mondays do, because people have to get their articles and their airtime out because they like to create drama in news articles just to get traffic onto their website for them to make even more money to then, whatever. So hope you have a good Sunday. And see you in like a week and a bit.